Hi, as promised, I'm starting my firearms videos, and the first one we're going to cover is going to be the P14. A brief overview of the rifle from butt to muzzle. It's a very similar shape in the stock to the Lee Enfield family, but obviously it's a continuous piece of wood all the way up until you get to this. Well, basically until you get to the end. So I suppose that was a manufacturing technique to make it cheaper and easier to make and less fiddly to put together. But like the Enfield, you've got the trapdoor in the butt for your cleaning kit, or if you lose your cleaning kit, you can stick whatever you want up there. And a little interesting thing to note about this particular rifle is that it's an Eddystone rifle, but at some point somebody has stuck a Winchester stock on it. It's got quite a few interesting markings on it. It's actually got the Maltese cross on it, and if anybody could let me know what that means, I'd really appreciate it. Some people have said that the Maltese cross on the stock is supposed to signify that the weapon itself was unsafe, hence maybe why it's a Winchester stock on an Eddystone action. The original Winchester action's been taken off this stock, and it's a nice stock, so it's then maybe been put on another gun. Moving up towards to the bolt, we've got a modified Mauser design. The difference is that it actually cocks on closing to facilitate rapid fire, which is obviously a really big thing in the British Army. They're very keen, as everybody who's had an Enfield knows. You can get rounds off very quickly for a bolt action weapon. And to help the rapid fire, we've got this bolt that's got a bit of a dog leg in it. I don't know if you can see that, just here. Then this dog leg was just allowing the bolt to be a bit nearer and more ergonomic to the fire's hand, which it is. It's close, it's easy to use. I don't think it's quite as rapid as the Enfield, but it's still a good weapon. Just moving down to the trigger, you've got again a different design in the trigger mechanism, which I think is actually superior to the Enfield design. It's a lot less creep. It breaks quite crisply. And one thing I found with it allows you to shoot a lot better. You can't go from shooting an Enfield to this because you start snatching the trigger. It's just that bit lighter. And save my K31, I won't shoot my K31 after I've shot my number 4 on my SMLE because I just start spraying the target in comparison to what you can do if that's the first weapon you pick up. Moving a little bit forward on the weapon now, we've got a 5-shot integral magazine. Obviously this is from the Mauser design, which we'll go into that in a little bit. We'll talk about the history in a moment. But one thing I've noticed about the P14 is it ejects very cleanly. It really kicks the round out. This is an inert round, by the way, I'm not putting a live one in. So just pop that in, close it, and pull it. It really flings the round clear, which is quite nice. Sometimes I found the Enfields, they can spin and fall back into the breech, into the magazine, and you have to physically flick them out with your fingers. But the same as the Enfield, it loads from a 5-round stripper clip, except obviously you only use one stripper clip to top the magazine up. To remove the bolt, same as a Mauser, you've got the little lever on the side which just releases it. And just above that we have, on this model, the volley sight. It's probably quite difficult to see, but it's just here. This is the rear one, and then you've got your dial sight here. Now I've actually got the dial, but I'm missing the sight itself. You can get repros, but I quite like to put an original one on. There's a few coming up now and again on eBay, so I'll be doing my best to get hold of one of those. Now the more conventional sights on it are the aperture sight here, which is supposed to be battle aperture, which then graduates onto the fold-up aperture sight, which is sighted up to 1600. Again, it's quite hopeful being able to hit something at 1600, but if you've got a static target, I think you can have a good go if there's a few of you shooting. And from there onwards, it's pretty much similar to any battle rifle of the period. You've got your bayonet lug on the front to take not the same, but a similar bayonet to the 1907, a big long sword bayonet. And you've got some nice sight protectors on the front for that sight post. Okay, so it's time for a little bit of history on the weapons now. The P14 was developed after the British experience in the Boer War, taking huge casualties from the higher velocity Mausers that the Boers were using. So the British developed around a 276, yeah that's right, 276, and originally the rifle designated the P13, which was intended to replace the SMLE or the Enfield family at the time. Except the First World War happened, so they had to cam that on the head, and in order to try and meet some excess demand, or the excess demand they had, they contracted out the SMLEs to the US, to Winchester and Remington. Remington, in reply to this, also set up a plant called Eddystone, which was specifically for creating P14s, which this is an Eddystone 1, or it's an Eddystone Action anyway. Well, like I say, a Winchester stock. The problem with the difference between Remington and Winchester was they had their own little designs on certain parts, so that led to issues of interchangeability between spare parts. So if you had a Winchester, you had to make sure you had Winchester. So the rifles were often designated P14 Mark 1 W or P14 Mark 1 Remington to make sure that you always got the correct part. And contrary to belief, a lot of the US went to the First World War not with the Springfield 1903s, but they actually went with the American version of the P14, which was the M7 1917. I've been lucky enough to have a shot of one. Off the top of my head, I don't think there's many differences, obviously with the exception of the calibre. If I'm incorrect there, yeah, point me out. But I don't think there's much. I couldn't really tell much. Didn't feel much different to fire, except I think the 3006 is slightly punchy around, so a heavier bit of recoil. And then after the First World War, the rifles were obviously put into storage because they weren't considered frontline rifle. They were sort of took a back seat to the Enfield family. Obviously, the UK and the Commonwealth progressed on to the number 4 or the Commonwealth stage with the SMLE. But then the Second World War occurred and all these came out of storage and got issued to the Home Guard. They went to a place called Weedon to get converted to P14 Mark IIs, which involved the removal of the volley sights. When they were issued, you'll see that Dad's Army, a popular sitcom in the UK from the 70s, this is what they're issued with. Not Springfields. It's a real common mistake that the Home Guard were issued with Springfields. They're also issued with M1917s. You can tell them apart, and you can still get them. They've got about 1.5 inch, 2 inch red band around the foregrip to designate the fact that it was actually 3006 and not 303, because obviously you're only mixing the ammunitions up. So, I mean, that's a basic, very basic in any field. It's not. It was designed obviously to replace it. It's a good weapon, really, in my opinion. I think it shoots better. I don't know if it's a better battle rifle, but I think it shoots better than the Enfields. You've got a heavier barrel and better sights until the number 4 came along, obviously with a very similar setup in sights. So you can, compared to the SMLE, I think it's a more accurate weapon. Safety-wise, you've got your safety. It's in a brilliant spot, better than the SMLE and the number 4. It's really ergonomic, it's right where you need it. So I hope this has been informative, and I hope it's maybe given you an insight into a weapon that did that. Thanks for watching, see you soon.